So what I want to share with you in this video is part of an answer to a question that I got from someone over email. And they were nice enough to share with me a video of how they looked walking around. So I'm going to do just a vague demonstration of it. Her greatest worry was about her leg rotating out when she's walking. And so in the video, she is walking with some support, both hands. And as she goes to step through with her more affected extremity, it comes through rotated out. Okay? And then each additional step, it's rotated out. So generally, when there's issues with how you're walking around and if it looks different than what your other side looks like, there's often more than one thing going on. But the first thing that comes to my mind is what's going on at her foot and ankle. So for her, in the video she sent me, she was not wearing an ankle foot orthosis to help her foot lift up, or dorsiflex, that's that word for your foot lifting up as you go to take a step. So for the folks that I work with, what I recommend is having some sort of helper on your foot to lift up, because the natural way that we walk is that our foot lifts up. It's part of the action of us stepping right from the get-go. And so if our brain senses that that foot is not going to lift up, it's going to find some other way to bring that leg through. So one way to do that is to let it rotate and use these strong inner thigh muscles to bring it forward. And in my experience, once it gets rotated this way and you're walking, it's a challenge and an effort to get it rotated forward. So in my opinion, what is helpful is to have something to help your foot lift up. Some people might use like a stretchy ACE wrap to pull it up, a piece of TheraBand, an ankle foot orthosis. I'll use all of those things depending on the situation. But I want to have that helper in there if a person's foot isn't lifting, so that we can simulate what would feel natural to your brain right from the get-go. And we can keep your alignment, what would be natural for walking forward, so that if your foot, even if it drags a little bit, it can come through in its normal orientation or alignment, and you're going to be using the muscles that you would typically want to be using when you come forward. So the muscles kind of more on the front of your leg versus pulling hard with this inner thigh muscle. All right? So that's part one of what can be happening when your leg rotates out when you're walking. First of all, how is your foot or your ankle being supported to help it lift? The second part is to keep it in that orientation. You're going to want to have the range of motion to come over it so that it can be ready for the next step. So you want to have range of motion into dorsiflexion to kind of set yourself up, to have that helper to come right through, right? So help for the active dorsiflexion, and be sure that you're stretched out and you have a range of motion in your ankle into that range of motion. In a separate video, I'll share with you another thing that could be going on that could be contributing to a leg rotating out when you're walking.